All right, Mike and Jeff here with that'sgoodenough4me.com. We're doing our Who's Zooming Who series. I'm joined with Kyle and Tobin from Flatfoot 56. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Doing great.
Fantastic.
A-okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, for starters, just wanted to ask what you guys are currently up to as a band. And I know, Tobin, you're in a lot of other projects as well. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So we like many bands at this time are stuck at home, just doing some lives here and there. My other band, 610, has got a release this Wednesday for our album. So that's exciting. That's cool. Put some stuff out and do that kind of thing. So yeah, just kind of hanging out. Like, I'm a teacher too, so I'm finishing up classes, for my high school kids and that kind of thing as well. So it's been a lot of time with family,
What do you teach?
I'm a high school history teacher, so in Chicago Public. So
nice.
It's an interesting. It's fun. It's good. It's a good job.
So you're in Chicago proper then?
Yeah. I'm actually moving back into the city in like 3 weeks. Gonna be moving back into that. I live like just outside, like right outside of the city right now. But
okay, I grew up outside. I grew up in Crystal Lake.
Oh, right on. Yeah, for sure.
So, but I made it down to the city. The first time was like when I was like 12 or 13. We went to.
Did you ever go over to a roller skating rink called in what's that called, Kyle?
McHenry, I think it was called Just for Fun.
Just for Fun roller rink. We used to do punk shows there all the time.
That might have been after my time. I moved out of the area in '96. So for us, it was like the rotation station and the pit, like out of Rockford kind of thing.
We played,
but like all the shows at McGregor's and things like that, back in the day.
Yeah,
cool.
That's awesome.
We venture out to Crystal Lake to play pond hockey because there's so many different like little lakes,
Yep.
And there's a lot of hockey player kids out there, so we go out there and make the trip. So
there is. I grew up my house is like a block from the lake, so
yeah. No, there's tons of them up there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Sorry to digress on there. Tobin was talking about what he's up to.
No, Mike's got this look on his face of like, what is it? What?
No, I was trying to think of what that little neighborhood that you lived at is called. Didn't it have like a district name or?
Yeah, so the area that I'm moving back to is where Flatfoot originated from. It's called Clearing Garfield Ridge. It's like right next to Midway Airport. So like right on our trail.
We call it Midway. Nobody calls it Garfield Ridge.
Yeah, it's called Midway. So
okay, that's what it was.
Yeah. So I think you guys probably played, the Killa Goons probably played a few shows. I remember if we had you guys out for any shows. We used to do these basement shows over in that area. I don't know. Maybe we didn't. We used to have these crazy shows where it was like 250 kids crammed in these basements. There's a church on Archer that would throw shows, and like there would be boot prints on the ceiling. It was just like what that kind of like those perfect the way the punk show should be, just a hall, throw your sound system up, and then everybody loses their mind. We'd have hip hop groups come in and join us for songs, and we didn't know how to play with hip hop at the time, so we were just like, let's just try it. And the whole room was
it was a really bad Anthrax and Public Enemy rendition. So.
Now, one of the legendary house show houses in Lincoln was called 12 Deep, and it was called 12 Deep because the tenant Duff, the biggest police bus that they had, as he was sitting on his porch, and the cop was like, "I'm not going to do anything as long as all these people leave." As he was just kind of chit-chatting, the cop was like, "How much have you had to drink, sir?" He said, "I'm about 12 deep." It's hilarious.
That's right.
Speaking of shows, I'll start with you, Kyle. What was the last show that you attended or played? When was it?
Yeah, it was probably the show we played. We played in Rockford at a place called Mary's Place, and it was we were rebels. We did it one day after the announcement of COVID, basically. I think it was March 15th. The 12th?
Or maybe it was the 12th, yeah, 12th or 13th, something like that.
Yeah, it was around there. And we were all like, should we be doing this? And the promoter, we were kind of confused on what was happening. The day before, we had this whole like long tour planned out. And then the day before, they had announced that they were like locking down Chicago. And then we were calling the promoter in Rockford, and we're like, hey, like, are you doing this? Do you still want to do this? Like, we were like in that weird, like, we had people flying out from the East Coast that wanted to spend like St. Patrick's Day weekend in Chicago or Chicagoland area, because this was actually in Rockford. And so we were like, oh, we don't know. And then the bar was like, we're doing it if you guys can do it. So we're like, all right, let's just do it. And we did it. And then, and then after that, everything basically was canceled. The week canceled. And we had a scare with our drummer because he got really, really sick. And we're like, yeah, we're not doing anything. So we just started canceling. And then domino effect, bam, that was 2-3 months ago. So it's pretty wild.
The Killa Goons called off our big Lincoln St. Patrick's Day show. I think on the 12th, but it was like just early enough for a lot of people really pissed off at us for canceling it. But then by actual St. Patrick's Day, everybody like left us alone. Everybody was like, "Oh, this is real."
Yeah, it was one of those weird things where like, because so Kyle played that show, and then our Keith and our mandolin player and I, we actually flew to Florida to fulfill the obligation that Flatfoot had for St. Patrick's Day at this bar down there, because they weren't officially closed down yet. And literally right before our acoustic set to go on stage on St. Patrick's Day, the city shut the bar down, and they're like, no alcohol could be served anymore. And so obviously the whole room, you know, like people are hanging out, but they're like, we started promoting the Reuben sandwich, you know, like it was like, buy yourself a Reuben, you know, like it was just kind of this strange, really strange, eerie, like tipping at the edge of the world type stuff, because we were in St. Augustine, and that's a total tourist town that relies on people visiting and doing things. So this is a really strange, and then flying after that again, it was just a very eerie, strange feeling to kind of be in airports that were empty and everyone's scared. It was just a weird time.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if either of you guys were even in the room, but Chris, the guitar player from the Killa Goons, he works for the health department here in Lincoln, and he's just like a health inspector, but he was getting a lot of actual facts and information from the city of Lincoln. So when we were in the green room at Streets Denver together for those shows, at one point, Chris said something along the lines of like, well, everybody have fun now because the whole world's shutting down soon. And one of us looked over and they were like, dude, you're such a fucking drama queen.
Yeah.
So on that end, and thinking fondly of that trip and the last time, you know, I really got to leave the house for more than a dog walk, I think that we should take this opportunity to talk about Whirly Ball a little bit and just kind of give it a little bit of a promotion, because one of the first things I thought about was that Whirly Ball place, you know, shutting down. That's not a safe place. So, Jeff, are you aware of Whirly Ball? Do you know what we're talking about?
Not by that name.
So I'm going to describe it really poorly, and then Tobin's going to actually tell you what it is. It's kind of like playing polo and basketball, but you're riding a bumper car instead of a horse.
It's I want to say it was formed in Chicago, but I think it's definitely a Midwest game.
Yeah, it's a street thing. So what happened is I think it was like 2008 or 2007. A band from California called the Whiskey Rebels came and stayed at our house, and we played a show with them. And Big Chuck, their main singer, I remember him specifically telling me, he's like, "Yeah, tomorrow we're gonna stay with you guys, and then we're gonna go play Whirly Ball." And I'm like, "What's Whirly Ball?" He's like, "You don't know Whirly Ball? You know, if you know that band, like if you've never heard the Whiskey Rebels, check them out. They're amazing, like just an amazing band." But Big Chuck was probably about like, I think he was knocking on the door of 400 pounds. I can't believe he fit in one of those things ever. Like I can only imagine, like, you know. But
I don't know how he grabbed the stick and turned it clockwise or turned it around. Like that'd like be like stabbing himself in the stomach. I don't get how he did it whatsoever.
Yeah. But so they were swearing by it. They were like, every tour we come out here on, we play whirly ball. It's a tradition for us, and we started doing it with our supporters group, the Ollie Mob, 2 years ago, and it's kind of like a regular gathering. So when you guys came, when the Killa Goons played with us in Colorado, we were meeting up with our Ollie Mob members out in Colorado Springs for it. So it's kind of a fun gathering event place to do stuff. So
the problem was though, like, so you have like a highlight scoop kind of, and you're in a bumper car, and you have to scoop up a ball, and you're on teams of 5, and then you have to take the highlight ball and like throw it into like a basketball hoop, kind of like a goal that's out in the air, and then there's a referee that's like keeping like score and like.
Is the referee in one of the carts?
No, the referee's like up in like a they're like up in like a bird's nest.
Okay.
And they're supposed to penalize you when you're like playing dirty and stuff. And of course we were like, so I'm like, I have my neck turned towards the goal, like yelling at my singer, and like you're fucking like guitar players like just ramrodding me with this bumper car. And then I played 3 shows on drums, and then I slept on a mandolin case in the back of the van on the way back to Lincoln, and I had like a broken neck for like 3 weeks.
All I know is when you guys said this, I'm looking it up now and I have a picture. It is about what you explained, but I see a very young girl really getting into it. But in the same court of people playing whirly ball, there's this old decrepit lady who's also holding her little giant trying to steer where she's going.
It's one of those sports that, when you watch it, it looks really slow and lame. And when you're playing it, you feel like you're in the middle of like, rollerball, like it's like, this is it. This is intense. It's like some like just adrenaline filled court game. And then you watch it from outside and you're like, this is really slow.
I just remember one of you guys was going for a final, like really good score. And Kyle, it might have been you that actually took your highlight scoop thing and threw it in the air to like knock the ball loose, which is against the rules.
It was. I knew how to I don't know. Cheating is a skill set in that game. I did a lot of it.
All right. Well, since that was one of the stranger experiences of my life, I wanted to now discuss. If you guys have developed any kind of strange or unusual routines or habits since you started, being stuck at home all the time. For example, I care about how grass grows now, and I have taken the time to water a little bit of grass, which I think is environmentally irresponsible and not important, but for whatever reason right now, I really want to grow some grass in my front yard. So,
there you go.
Kyle, can you give me an example?
I am a connoisseur of grass. I do my own grass. I do it once a week. It's a ritual that I make sure I get my sorry little fanny out there and I make it happen. And but yeah, that's a normal thing in my neighborhood. Everyone's grass is pristine, and you got to keep up with the neighbors, or everyone's gonna let their dog crap all over your yard. I don't know. No, strange routines. No, actually, I can't think of any. Dude, I've been working like 50 hours a week, so I'm going, or every 2 weeks. Anyway, but I'm putting in a lot of hours and it works. I'm at the airport, and so I come home and I grill in my garage, and everything's. I grill probably 3 or 4 times a week. And I never really touched a grill before that. So I guess that's my new routine.
There you go.
I am a religious griller now. It's not that cool. I'm sorry. That's not even interesting. But
but between my green thumb and your propane master. So now Tobin just has to say that he enjoys like reading a newspaper with a corncob pipe. And we're like the cliche 1950s man. How about you?
I actually, I don't know about you guys, but like COVID completely made me, I met all of my neighbors. where I live. I had never seen a lot of the people in my neighborhood until this happened, and then everybody just started doing these walks with their families. So I actually have a neighbor who is from Bosnia. He lives right next door, and he's got one leg that he lost in the Bosnian War in the 90s. And so they have a swing set in their backyard, and they're always like, bring your daughter over. You guys come in. And so we've been having these good hangouts in their backyard, just they tell stories about the Bosnian War and growing up in Europe and telling me about Bosnia. So it's been kind of a neat way to meet my neighbors. And
Can
just
you
doing
successfully swing with one leg? I wonder.
You say what?
I said, can you successfully swing with one leg? Does that like carry the momentum?
Oh no. He's actually. I didn't even know. I
thought you were gonna tie that together.
No. I didn't even know he didn't. He had lost a leg until he was wearing shorts one day, and I was like, wait a second, that he didn't. Oh my gosh, so it's this weird, really nice guy though, really good dude. So it's been fun. I don't know, like that's kind of. It's not really weird, but it's You walk around the neighborhood, you meet old people with their dogs. When you have a kid who's like 1.5 and sees the world as an absolute miracle, everything is a miracle. She has a tendency to you really meet a lot of people through that. So I've been enjoying doing that. I've been teaching online as well with my students at the school. So that's been kind of a challenge getting kids.
To piggyback off Toby, I just bought a house in October. I've been in the city and stuff, and my neighborhood's like a lot of old school, game banger type guys that have families and stuff now, but it's a really chill neighborhood. And so we all get together almost like every night, and we all like kind of like get on our porches. Some guys are drinking, some guys are like shining up their guns because it's like straight mayhem in Chicago the past 2 weeks. And so we're always like at the neighborhood watch guys. We all go out and we're starting all this juicy drama of like who lives in which house and whose neighbor's doing what. And it's becoming like the show The Birds. It's like The Birds. And I've been trying to get information on my neighbors to the left because rumor has it there's a very, very large woman that I've never seen before, and she's bedridden. And I'm asking all the neighbors if anybody's ever seen her or like who she is. And everyone's trying to like peek around and figure out because the last couple caretakers didn't speak English, and we couldn't figure out and I'm trying to figure out who they are because they always turn the water on and it like floods their side yard and it gets to like the foundation of my house, and then I have a crack there, and so now I'm getting water all the time because they leave their hose on like 24/7. Actually, I get out of my front yard and I walk over and turn it off like almost every day. And it probably pisses them off, but I don't even care because it's flooding my house. So, yeah. But anyway, I had to get that off my chest.
Maybe she's a mermaid.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
Jeff, do you have anything to add here?
God,
Michael's really disturbed.
I don't know, man. Like
what can you go off of that juicy information?
I got really bored, so I left one website and started another one. No, it's like I think a big part is, my wife's definitely the breadwinner in the family. I mean, if I'm a homemaker, I'm an illustrator at home and things like that. But since this all started and the schools were closed, I'm like the teacher's assistant to my daughter. So I've yeah, teachers don't get paid enough. Like I have one to deal with now. Given she's mine, so she's getting a little lippy, But I just have one. I can't imagine having like 20 or 30, and she's 8. So like that's like right in the age when they start realizing that they can like talk crap to you, like without like they understand what it is. Like normally when they'll say like, I don't want to do that kind of thing, but now she's like she gets that look because she knows she's like pushing your buttons.
Yeah.
Like
my 3-year-old had a moment today where she's like, "Daddy, I want string cheese," and I was like, "Well, Daddy's working," and she just went, "String cheese!" And like, I want to ask my boss to like, I want my boss to be in the room and be like, "So what do you think? You think I should get her some string cheese or should I keep working?"
We were on a walk the other day. And I don't know if you ever watched like anime movies, but have you ever seen like Akira, like the original? Like
I've heard of it, yeah.
there's a part in that movie when like one of the main characters, they're like 16-year-old kids, mouths off to this like big guy, and the big guy just takes his hand, puts it on the side of his head, and just goes and like throws him across the street. And I'm turning to my wife, I'm like, sometimes I just want to do that to my daughter. It's like, is it bad that I get that in my head? I just want to go. So that's like the kind of like the running joke now. Like when she's really pissed me off, I just make that motion like I'm unhappy.
I just psychologically torture my daughter with like, I'm really sad right now because of you. So moving on to actual content. I'm asking everybody if they could name a band or a record from a band. Of no specifics, but just something that you think people should be listening to right now. And I will go first. I'm going to say Band-Aid Brigade because I never listened to them before, and then I got to interview them, and I realized I was an asshole, so I listened to them, and they're great. I'm so sorry, Brian and Zach. Tobin, it's your turn.
Jerk.
So it's my turn?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Honestly, I would encourage everybody to check out a band called Radioactivity. Everything they do is awesome. As far as like, I mean, as far as just being a good band all around, it's definitely a solid group from, I think they're from San Francisco. Just been listening to them a lot lately. And just really solid stuff. Also, Territories from Canada, Calgary. They just put out Pirates Press put out a split with them and some good friends of ours called the Vicious Cycles. And Territories is a band called Knucklehead years ago, and their new project it's in my opinion, it's just perfect. It's really good stuff. So, and it's a new band too. So
Cool. Jeff?
I don't know. I've got a couple things going on. This question comes up a lot, and it's like part of the thing I do is I listen to the music that we're going to post on the site, just try to get a feel of who the band is and stuff. So Goldmine Records up in Canada just put out a hardcore compilation called In Your Face Volume 1, and I haven't really listened to a lot of hardcore lately, and this is like real like hardcore, so I've kind of get into that. And then also we just posted about this band called Rain Check from Lyon, France. And actually from 2009 to 2013, I lived in Lyon. Once again, my wife's a smart woman. She was working at a university there. So it's like, at the time we were there wasn't much of a really big punk scene, but it seems to have gotten big, like a lot of bands and there's a lot of venues there. So I'm like, just because they're from that town, I'm going to be like checking them out and stuff. So it's like, melodic punk. I don't know if there's anything spectacular. Sorry guys, but like it's still fun to listen to, and it's just
fun stuff,
kind of thing. Yeah.
We already got your YouTube view, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle, how about you?
Oh man, I'll give a shout out to my homies of a record that was put out in 2007. That is still fantastic. I was talking to my boy Dave Merriman and a Chicago band called The Arrivals. They put out a record, Volatile Molotov, one of my favorite post-punk. My favorite Chicago. I will probably say they're my favorite Chicago bands right now. Top favorite Chicago band that's in existence, basically. But that record's awesome. I actually always, this whole quarantine, me and Dave, the guitar player, I get into these 3-hour conversations on music, and it's the funniest things ever because he's usually really high and I'm really, really tired usually. So it's a weird combination of just silliness. And so we're just going back and forth on records and tangents of record labels that were fantastic. And then next thing you know, we've covered almost every single major style of music and our favorite bands from those music styles. So I'll give that one a little shout out. So
nice.
Right.
One more to add. Kyle's in another band called Fuerza Bruta. It's a Spanish oi band that's like Spanish like language oi band that's like phenomenal. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And Tobin, I'll give you a chance since you and your brother are I guess, cyber threats, and you got your Facebook accounts taken.
I don't know what they're smoking over at Facebook, but they're just like, we need to see your ID now. And I'm like, okay, like, this is weird.
So Jeff, I go to send Tobin the Zoom link, and his like Facebook account is deactivated. His Messenger is deactivated. His side of the conversation is like just like blurred out, and I was just like, this motherfucker went to a great length to get out of this Zoom.
I just couldn't help myself, man. It's like, come on, you know.
I'm curious what you guys did to just piss off the Zuckerberg, man. You know, it's like,
oh man. Honestly, the last thing I remember sharing around was an awesome commercial for a restaurant here in Chicago called the Wiener Circle, where you go there and the ladies behind the counter roast you, and it's an awesome place. Like, and they did this great commercial during COVID for pickup. If you check it out, it's a wonderful. That's honestly that's the only thing I can think of that I was sharing through Facebook recently. I don't know what else it could have been, but
so we have to explain the finer things of this restaurant. So it's just a typical hot dog stand in Chicago. It's nothing. The food's not even that great. It's in a really, really yuppie, expensive part of town, and but it's fantastic because all of their girls that work there are large African American girls, and they are the best shit talkers. Like, they just bring it, and that's what they're known for. And but the best thing is if you get a chocolate shake, they take out their boobs and they bounce them on the counter, and they just shake them all up, and that's what a chocolate shake is. And so in the commercial, they say, because they're advertising through COVID and all this kind of stuff, and so you can only do takeout only. You can't go inside the store. So they say on the commercial, like, sorry, cake shake's not available for carry out because of recent exposure. So I was like,
it's actually like, it's a very beloved place. It's like one of those places that's like a cult classic in Chicago.
Yeah.
So it really did my heart good to see their commercial, because it started off kind of like one of those thank you thank you to all of our doctors and people who are taking care. Like, it was one of those feel good commercials that everybody's doing right now, and it's really obnoxious sometimes because it's overly done. And then it goes into this lady just completely roasting this guy on his Zoom, you know, and it's like the coolest thing ever. So anyway, but yeah, if you ever come to Chicago, go to the Wiener Circle, have a fun conversation with some ladies that are there, and they're a fun time.
Chocolate cake shake.
All right.
Now chocolate shake.
Now that you've promoted the hot dog place, would you like to promote the release that's coming out on Wednesday?
Well, so my other band, 610, the album's called Carried in Retrospect, actually, and I'm reevaluating my decisions. No, it's fine. Yeah, so we basically we recorded this record last August in Vancouver, Canada. It's kind of a folk Americana record, so it's not even it's not actually a punk record, but yeah, I started this kind of more of a acoustic folkier type band a few years ago, and we put out this record. So we went to Vancouver, recorded it for about 10 days in a studio out there, and then it's finally coming out. And we waited till the band is called 610 and we thought we'd put it out on June 10th, which is 610. Yeah, so it's coming out on Wednesday, and I hope I can get online to promote it if Facebook will allow me to, to actually promote my band. You know, it's kind of like, I swear, 2020 is like a kick in the balls, like every other week when it comes to musicians. Like, I just, like, it's musicians and venues were just getting nailed like over and over again with different weird things coming out, and you're like, are you kidding me? Like, how do they expect us to survive this? You know what I mean? Like, we can and we will, because it's something you don't do this for the money ever as a musician. You do it because it's in you, and you gotta have it's an addiction. It's a who you are. You have to just play, and that's it. So but it has been a really interesting road to hoe. It's been really strange to kind of crazy thing. I was thinking about recently. We were supposed to be doing our St. Patrick's Day show this year with the Tossers, like a big gathering show, and it didn't work out. So we ended up doing ours separately a week before theirs, which actually turned out amazing because ours actually happened, and theirs had to go to a Facebook Live last minute because everything was shut down. So we win. Nah, I felt bad for them because they're good friends and like they're awesome people. It's like, man, this is crazy, but yeah.
Well, what can we expect on the horizon from you guys? Are you writing? Are you working on any albums? Do you have any outstanding tour dates that haven't been canceled yet that are farther away?
You want to answer that one, Kyle?
Our tour in the North Pole looks like it's still going to happen. So we're going up there. No, we just did a demo in Cleveland, and we were just like a little 3-song demo, and we're gonna be releasing like single after single, maybe some splits with some like single splits with a couple different bands we've been talking about. But we'll probably just slow play it with those singles, and then start writing. We haven't actually gotten together as guys during this period, so we're kind of just waiting until everything kind of calms down and everything's really but and then we'll get together and start writing again. So
in about 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing a live with a buddy of mine, Josh Caterer from the Smoking Popes. We're going to do we're going to get together and do a live to benefit some of the African American owned places in Chicago. But that'll be I believe a week from next Friday. We'll be doing that on live, but that's a live. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's not really a tour date, but it'll be cool to kind of just. I think I was to play a song, he's to play a song, and then I was on their record. Did a song with them called "Melting America" that we're going to do together. So we just felt like it was a good way to reach out and support people who are rebuilding after the protests and stuff, or trying to get their shops back up and do that kind of thing. So we're still researching which group to kind of get behind. But yeah, so that's going to be coming up. We're on watch for that.
Hell yeah. Cool. Well, thank you, Flatfoot dudes. You are my family. So I wish you guys well. And thanks for giving me the time today.
That's good to see you. My pleasure.
Do you see my new lighting, Jeff? I got a new light bulb for my room. Can you tell how much less like orange it is?
It is.
Fucking stoked.
But your hair is still as bright as a tennis ball.
I know, man. It's like an episode of Sesame Street. It's like,